Hey Flosstube, this is Kim, aka Spartan Stitcher, back again with video number 67. It is May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. I'm wearing my husband's Millennium Falcon shirt because I have to represent since I'm not stitching on my Star Wars piece today. Let's talk about what I did for stitching this week. I worked on 4 different pieces because it was the end of April and then the beginning of Stitch Mania. So, the first thing I worked on was Supersized Color Expansion Museum Shelf. Working down here in the dinosaurs on this page. So I worked on Monday and Tuesday just to get it closer to a page finish without actually getting the page finish. My total stitches on this piece for April is 8,510 stitches, since I was using it not only for a park but also for the Around the World Challenge and Full Coverage Fanatics. We went to Egypt. So there we are. Pretty darn close to a page finish. I think it'll take me 1 or 2 more days because of the confetti to get that page finish. But I need a break from working with the humongous PVC frame, so I'll either work on that later on this week, towards the weekend, or the following week to get that page finish. But that's where I left off in April. And then for the last 2 days in April, I worked on Friends Forever for 2 days. And then I also did some border work on the Familiar Cell by Ingleside Imaginarium, so that once May 1st came and the May block dropped, I could immediately get to it and wouldn't have to do any border work. So let me show you that first. Pushing myself, I did manage to get the entire block stitched on May 1st. So that is Serpentes, how I would pronounce it. He is a Snake Lake familiar, suitable for witches who either want to hide their familiars up a sleeve or wear their familiar like an adornment or ornament. And due to their interior ears, they do really good at crystal work, as you can see. If you're searching around for more crystals, then they can sense the vibrations underground and locate those crystals for you. So that is the information about Serpentes. And you can see I finished the border work, so I'm still 2 blocks ahead. This is 32 count Lugana in Murky by Picture This Plus. Still really loving this piece. I look forward to getting it out every month. So that is my only non-full coverage that I plan on working on in May. So the last 2 days in April, I either, you could say, started Maynia early or was getting ready for my page finish Maynia and got the page on Friends Forever by Ann Stokes closer to being ready for page finish. So I was down here and lots of darkness and wood grain. I did, in those last 2 days, close to 3,010 stitches. So on May 2nd, after I finished the Familiar, I picked this one back up. I figured it would take me 2 days to get the page finish. But May 2nd was a Saturday. I didn't have to do homeschooling with my oldest daughter. And besides doing some laundry and a little bit of cooking, I really wasn't doing anything else, so I got a lot done. And as the day progressed, I was getting closer and closer. It's like, shoot. And I even was messaging Anne of Fiber Floss and Fiction Podcast. I'm like, maybe I can get this done today. And of course, she was, being a good cheerleader and saying, go for it. So I pushed myself. I broke my own record for my personal record for number of tent stitches done in a day, which is now 2,310 stitches. Again, only possible because there's hardly any confetti on this page whatsoever. But I got the page finish, got the skinny partial page finish next to it. So here is Friends Forever, what the whole piece looks like now. That is my second full page finish of the year on this WIP, which means I am halfway done with my annual goal of trying to get 4 full page finishes. Let me show you closer up view. So this is the page I got done, and then the partial page is right after where that lighter line comes down. So it's a little bit wider than a block. So there is your partial page finish, partial page, full page, first pages of Page Finish Mania. So the next time I pick this up, I'll be going back into Confetti City and going right down here to the middle of the throne and probably the top of her head as well. I haven't looked yet, but it should be the top of her head as well as the bottom of the dragon, with the little crown or diadem that she's wearing. This was the start to Lake Clark National Park in the Full Coverage Fanatics National Parks Challenge. I got 5,200 tent stitches out of 8,000, done towards that. So the next time I pick this up, I'll finish up that park and start on that confetti. So after that, yesterday, May 3rd, it was time to switch to Beauty and the Beast 2017 by Tilton Crafts. I'm using this piece for Full Coverage Fanatics Around the World Challenge for May as we're visiting France. And Beauty and the Beast was set in France as well as written by a French author. So this will be my next page finish. I was not all gung-ho about my stitching yesterday after the record-breaking day on Saturday. I did a whole lot more reading. There's a balance. But because of big sections of color in the background, I still got 1,400 tent stitches done on this one yesterday. So I will continue this week to work on this page and finish up the front of the beast's face on that one to get the page finish. So that'll be this week. Once I get this done, I will either move to Half-Blood Prints or Museum Shelf, and then after that, the other pieces that I told you that will definitely be a part of Page Finish Mania is Oh Baby, and that page is almost from the beginning, except for what I've feathered into it. So Half-Blood Prints, Museum Shelf, Oh Baby are my last 3 definite, with Oh Baby taking the most time to finish that page. So we'll see this week if I get to this. I'll get this page finished. If I either touch just one more, so I'll have 2 pieces to show you next week, or if I do 2 more pieces and get that and have 3 pieces to show you. So full coverage stitches for April, 13,100 stitches. That is after converting all my 10 stitches to full stitches. So well over the 8,333 I need for the National Parks Challenge to keep on track. In my year-to-date full coverage total, everything is full stitches, is 46,200 so far. A little bit of haul that came in today's mail. I have been getting the entire Chock Full series from Julie at Reflections, Framing and Stitching this year. So Bloom is the most recent one. I haven't stitched a single one yet, but they're all in my stash. And when I do get to this one, I don't know if I'll keep it red jar with a blue bow or if I'll swap them. I'll have to see. Plus, I'd probably use more of a gray fabric instead of black. And then the other thing I got, because I've been watching Julie's Chart of the Day videos, and she mentioned having some ornament cuts. And since I don't have much of a fabric stash, I asked her what she had in 32 count Lugana, and she told me in an email. And so, since she was sending bloom anyways, I had her send this 17 by 10 inch piece of Picture This Plus Wren. So I can get 2 or 3 ornament pieces, or a small if it's the right shape, done on this one. So, and I've never seen Wren in person, and I really like it, so I might consider it. Throw some flosses on there for some bigger patterns that I have, and see if that would be good for some of the bigger pieces, so that I can order. Because, you know, Lugana never dyes the same as linen, and all of their pictures of the colors on Picture This Plus, I believe, are linen. So it's always interesting to see how the Lugana comes out. That is all my stitching content. A short update on my husband. We do have a rough idea when he will be returning. It's still quite a ways away. So the only people I've given the rough estimate to are my mom and his mom. I haven't told the girls. I haven't put it anywhere just because anything can change. It's still a way out until his replacement actually gets there, and then a couple weeks of quarantine and turnover, and yeah, it's still going to be a while. The original 6 months are up. If the pandemic hadn't happened, he would have been home by now. But we just keep pushing on. So, Air Force story. If you're not interested in that, I'll see you next week. If you've been watching the news or on social media at all, you know that the Air Force Thunderbirds and the Navy Blue Angels have been doing flyovers of big cities this past week. Starting on Tuesday, they were in New York, Newark, and Philadelphia. Then they flew over Friday of Washington, D.C., and Atlanta and Baltimore. And then on Wednesday, the 6th of May, the Blue Angels, I think it's only the Blue Angels, are going to be flying over Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth, and New Orleans. I have been posting the flight paths with the schedule on my Instagram stories, along with other Air Force units that are doing flyovers of their major cities. So this past week, the B-2s out of Whiteman flew over Kansas City, Missouri. Some planes out of Vance and Altus flew over Oklahoma City. And then the planes at Luke flew over Phoenix. Now, because I have a history at Luke and my brother currently lives in Phoenix, he was able to go outside and see the flyover. And I've been talking to you in my Air Force stories how my last assignment was at Luke with the training detachment, as we trained F-16 maintainers. And right before I left, we were starting to do all the groundwork to planning the transition from F-16s to F-35s. Most of the F-16s were going to move somewhere else, and then Luke was going to get F-35s, which meant that the MRA program with crew chiefs was going to have to switch over from F-16s to F-35 crew chiefs. So there's a whole lot of logistics that has to be figured out to go along with that. But there are still some F-16s stationed at Luke because, as I told you, they also train F-16 pilots. And they're not all U.S. pilots. There are foreign countries in the world that we have sold F-16s to. And some of those pilots come to Luke to learn how to fly them. So there are some foreign squadrons run with U.S. supervision at Luke as well. So the flyover of Phoenix was F-16s, F-35s, and a KC-135 tanker. I do have some pictures. So you have F-16s on the bottom leg, F-35s up here, and the tanker flying with them. And then here's another shot. You can't see the tanker itself. So here's the F-35s closer this way. These are the F-16s. But you can see the shadow of the tanker. That's kind of cool. Anyways, my brother saw the flyover. He said it was pretty sweet. And as far as the Thunderbirds and the Blue Angels flyover, the first one they did on Tuesday of New York, Newark, and Philadelphia, the Air Force Public Affairs folks had not only cameras in their cockpits, like GoPro cameras, but they also had a chase plane taking pictures of the formation, kind of like the pictures I just sent you. Actually, I don't know, did I share the other one? There was another cool picture that I had of the angle of the Thunderbirds and the Blue Angels made it look in just a way that they were flying together in the same formation. I'll have to get that on my tablet so I can show you next week. But Public Affairs put together some pictures and videos that you can see on the article that I have linked below. And the pictures are cool because you can see like the formations over landmarks in New York and such, Statue of Liberty. But what's really cool is the video. So scroll to the bottom of the article and there's a video. And it's spliced together different scenes of the whole flyover. Starting from the launch, because these demonstration teams, part of their show is also walking out to the jet and prepping the jet and starting them up. So there's a ground part to their show. So you get to see part of that. You get to see them take off. Then you see different scenes from the pilot's perspective, both the Thunderbirds and the Blue Angels, as they do the flyovers. And then, because they're going city to city to city, and these are fighter jets, they need to refuel. So you get to see aerial refueling from all angles. So not only shot from the chase plane, looking at the planes refueling, shot from inside the cockpit as you're refueling one of the fighter jets, and then also the boom operator and the tanker had some footage taken, so you can pretend like you're laying down with the boom operator and refueling the Thunderbirds and the Blue Angels. So it's pretty cool. I encourage you to go check out that article with the video link. And the way this relates to my experience in the Air Force is that while I was at the detachment at Luke Air Force Base, I told you that my instructors were cream of the crop. Okay, so they had to interview for this position. I hardly had to, I didn't have to micromanage them. My supervision was being their sounding board when they needed help, helping them talk through a problem and find a solution. Writing their performance reports every year, recognizing them for good work. So annual awards, monthly awards, quarterly awards, writing their decoration citation when they left. You always get a decoration when you leave a job if you've been there a certain amount of time. As well as some of those instructors had set their sights higher as to what they wanted to accomplish next in their Air Force career. So two of them, since we were working on F-16s, two of the F-16 crew chiefs wanted to apply to be a part of the Thunderbird team, because the Thunderbirds have their own maintenance team that travels along with them. So my job as their commander was help them with their application package. So not only did I write them a letter of recommendation, they had previous squadron commanders at Luke write them a letter of recommendation, getting together all their records and sending it forward. And so both of those F-16 crew chiefs were selected to work on the Thunderbirds. So that was really cool, because even after I separated the Air Force, I followed them on Facebook and got to see some of the cool things they got to do as part of the Thunderbird team. Two of my other guys applied to and were accepted to OTS, Officer Training School. So these were staff sergeants who wanted to become officers. And just by chance, they both also went into aircrew career fields. You don't have to. There's so many other different career fields in the Air Force. But the F-16 crew chief went on to become an F-16 pilot and is now a T-38 pilot down in Texas. So, you know, he used to teach crew chiefs how to work on the F-16, and now he's teaching pilots how to fly. Because when you first join the Air Force, you learn how to fly on a trainer aircraft first, hence the T in T-38, before you move to a fighter, a cargo jet, a bomber, or other specialty airframe. So he's teaching pilots how to fly. And then the other one was a avionics guy, and he is now a navigator on B-1s. So that is pretty cool. They're both majors now, so they rank higher now than I was when I separated from the Air Force. So that's really cool. I'm really proud of everything they've accomplished. It's just fun to watch how your troops go on and everything they accomplish. The other little mini story that's related to the Thunderbirds is that when I was at Seymour Johnson as a second lieutenant in 2004, so I'd only been in a year, and you know those second lieutenants are given jobs that no one else really wants, but also teaches you a lot, and you know someone's got to do the job. Excuse me. Well, in 2004, Seymour Johnson had an air show. They usually had an air show every 2 years. And that particular year, the Thunderbirds were coming. And, you know, most of the time when you see the Thunderbirds flying, there's only 6 planes. They usually travel with 8 because the advanced guy, the narrator, who talks through the entire show to everyone who's actually there at the air show, he comes early in a D model. So he's got a maintenance guy with him. And they both come a day or two early to make sure everything is all set up and getting to where it needs to be for when the team actually arrives. So not only do they have all the supplies they need, they bring their own tools and such, but there are certain things that the host base has to provide, like the smoke oil that they load up into their F-16s to create the smoke when they do their show. So the smoke that you see coming out of the back end of the F-16, that's created with something called smoke oil. It's a special, I can't think of the word. Special way that their particular jets have been modified to create that. And it's just, it's not coming out of the engine, it's coming out of a little tiny port, which you might be able to see in that video if you watch it. Little tiny port on the side, like completely exterior to the engine, but then with the exhaust, it comes out and looks like it's coming from the exhaust. Anyways, the Thunderbird team, they're kind of like divas, but they're entitled because of everything they do, and they're used to doing their show a certain way, so they have to have everything set up the same no matter what location they're at. Anyways, it was a lot of hard work over that weekend, but I got a thank you gift that I wasn't expecting. Just came back to my office one day and had this sitting on my desk that they had left, and it had been delivered to my desk. So this is a picture of the 2004 Thunderbird team with my name written on the top, and then all their signatures down here on the bottom. So you have all 6 jets that are in the show, along with their flight surgeon, their executive officer, their maintenance officer, their operations officer, excuse me, my voice is going, the advanced pilot / narrator, and their public affairs officer. So that was a really cool memento / thank you gift from them. And what's even cooler is that, okay, this was in 2004, and when I deployed with the squadron out of Seymour in 2006, one of the guys in the fighter squadron that deployed with us is right here. he was he went from the Thunderbirds once he got done with his time on the team. He switched over to F-15Es, Strike Eagles, and so in the space of 2 years, he came to Seymour Johnson, learned how to fly the F-15E, and then was moved to the Combat Squadron and deployed with us. So that was kind of cool. I was like, hey, I got your signature on my little Thunderbird poster. So that was interesting. Yep, that's it for my Air Force story. I hope everyone is having a good Maynia, and we will see you next week, guys. Bye.